The Last of Us Part 2. If you are one of my friends, you would know how much I talk about the first Last of Us. I freaking love that game to death. I even have it as number 4 of my favorite games of all time. So if I'm being honest, this is actually a pretty hard video for me to make just because of how much I love the Last of Us series and how much I've waited for the sequel. But before this video starts, I need to say that all of this is my opinion. If you do not like my opinion, please do not hate me. My review might be pretty negative, but I do have some good things to say about this game. Also, I don't know why I have to say this, but major spoiler, like major spoiler warning. So if you do not want to hear spoilers, this video is not for you. You need to click off now. So, as we start the game, it pretty much ended, it starts right where the last one ended. We're here with Tommy and Joel. Joel is explaining to Tommy what happened back at the Fireflies hospital. And we see this scene, it's beautiful. They go out. It looks like they're looting or stuff like that. And then we see them head back to Jackson, and I couldn't believe how beautiful the game looked. Like, honestly, throughout the game, I had a hard time telling what was a cutscene and what wasn't. As we see them walk into Jackson, we see Joel heading back to Ellie's, what appears to be Ellie's house. And Joel brings a guitar for her, because, I mean, if you played the last one, you'll know. Joel said that he would teach her. But he goes to Ellie's house, and he brings the guitar, and he sings Future Days to her. Which, this scene that happens in the game, it's honestly my favorite scene that happens in this game. It is such an incredible scene, and when I played this scene, it got me so pumped to play Last of Us 2. I'm like, yeah, we're in for a good game. This is gonna be amazing. Which clearly, judging by the title, you can see how I feel about this game. Anyways, before we go further, I do want to mention that the whole cast did such an incredible job with their acting in this game. Ashley Johnson, Troy Baker, Laura Bailey, all you guys, everyone that was a part of this game, you did a phenomenal job. I really do hope you guys get nominated for Best Actor in the Game Awards this year, as it's much deserved. Anyways, let's get back to the review. Time skip goes by, it's about 4 years, I think. We get introduced into some pretty cool new characters, Jesse and Dina, which we will talk about later. And for a bit, we play as Ellie. I think it's about 2 hours of the game. I was exploring a lot, so it's probably a little bit shorter than 2 hours of this Ellie and Dina part. And while playing it, I just noticed how incredible the game design is. Everything about this game is, or not everything in terms of game design, the game is just incredible. Level design, it's just beautiful. But what makes this game bad is the story, which we're going to be digging more into later. Then later in the game, we get Abby. As a big Laura Bailey fan, finding out she played this character, it got me really excited, but I can't help but not be interested in this character. And here is why. Please don't hate me, because I'm sure this is why everyone didn't like Abby, but later on in the game, she gets in some crap, is about to die, but then Joel and Tommy saves her. This is pretty early in the game. Also, after Tommy and Joel saves her, she returns the favor by offering them a place to stay, which is her friends, since they don't got anywhere to go. With the storm that's happening at the moment, and this scene bothered me so much just because it was so out of character for Joel to trust someone that quick, let alone go back to her group. Judging by Joel and Tommy's past, I would assume this is a very out of character thing for Tommy, even though we did not get to see much of Tommy's story in the last one. I don't know, I'll let you guys be the judge of that. They get there, they meet the group, they act all friendly and stuff, and then when Joel says his name to the group, Abby's whole group is just so startled. Then Abby comes in with a gun, shoots Joel's leg, Tommy gets knocked out with the gun. So then we go back to Ellie. Yes, that's how the game ended. A little cliffhanger with that. So we go back to Ellie, and now basically she gets in a relationship with Dina. Their whole story that's happening. Sorry, I know I'm probably doing a bad job explaining the story, but I gotta explain the part for the review. But the whole Jackson group starts getting worried for Joel and Tommy because they didn't show back up at Jackson. So then Ellie goes by herself, which I feel like Jackson, just how their group is, I feel like they would not have let that happen, but they let it happen anyways. And somehow, just like that, she finds the house first try where Joel and Tommy's at, which I really don't understand how that happened. And then no one's guarding the area, and with how Abby's group is, I don't even understand how they would even consider not having people out there. Owen, which I guess this little mini group is kind of the leader, even though he's not the leader of, I think they're called, yeah, we'll talk about that later. But Owen is one of the peeps that points it out, that it just points out that there's no one out there looking at the area. And for me, that just ain't a good reason for me that the game did not make sense to me. But Ellie walks in there, finds Joel being tortured. Ellie gets pinned down by the group as she watches Abby literally hit Joel with a golf club. And basically she finishes Joel off with a golf club. Yeah, and you literally see part of his brain on the golf club. That's how they killed Joel. Yes, this dude went through so freaking much, and they gave him this awful death. I feel like this is honestly complete disrespect to a character like Joel. All the crap he went through, that's how he dies. We don't choose our deaths, I realize that, but still, this is like dying when you are like 5,000 days in the apocalypse, and you die because you tripped on your pair of tennis shoes. Like your shoes are untied, you trip. That's how terrible this death is in my eyes. And not to mention, it was such an out of character thing for Joel to do, and probably Tommy. And for whatever reason, they spare Ellie and Tommy, which to me doesn't make sense, since even both, or just Owen mentions that when Ellie shows up, the whole group's going to be coming after them. So they know that already, and they know that both Ellie and Tommy know what their faces look like. This seems like an out of character thing for Abby's group to spare Ellie and Tommy. I don't know if that's just me, but I'd like to know if people agree with me. As we move on, continuing playing as Ellie and her story, basically the whole story just becomes a revenge story after that. And I didn't like that. They still make Ellie awesome and everything, but again, all of the whole story is for Ellie is just her revenge. Tommy, Dina, and Jesse help her throughout this journey of revenge, so whatever. Let's time skip a bit into the game. Let's talk about the scars. I don't think I really need to explain them because this review is probably already long. If you got this far, I'm pretty sure you realize who the scars are. But as we play as Ellie, we see the scars show up, and I absolutely love the park scene. Like that whole scene with Ellie in the park with stars all around her was amazing. And again, a cool gameplay implement that was in the last of Us. The last of Us. See what I did there? Well, I didn't purposely do that, but I feel like the first Last of Us game already had amazing stealth mechanics. But Last of Us 2 just fully upgrades the stealth mechanics, and it's awesome. I absolutely love the stealth mechanics in Last of Us 2. It's one of my favorite parts, seeing this park scene, as it felt like for me so real with everything happening in the whole area. I just can't explain it. I think the scars were a really cool addition to the game. Alright, more time skipping. Ellie starts killing a lot of the WFA. Is that what they were called? I already forgot. Wow, I'm sorry guys. She kills Owen and Mel, which by the way, Abby's ex is Owen and Mel is pregnant, so Owen's current girlfriend is Mel, and Mel was pregnant with Owen's baby. So yeah, Ellie kills Mel, which is a pregnant person. But at this scene when Ellie kills her, right after that happens, she just is in a panic attack, because she later finds out that Mel is pregnant, and obviously I feel like anyone would be in shock as, well, anyone would be if you killed a pregnant person, which obviously we don't kill pregnant people out here. Do not kill pregnant people. I don't feel like I have to say that, but I don't know. But she's in shock, and we see Tommy and Jesse come back to, this is at the aquarium. They see Ellie in shock over what she did, and she drops her map, which has everything on it in terms of where they're staying at, like the theater as an example. And I feel honestly like someone like Tommy would notice that map right there on the floor and grab it quick, because I mean that's a lot of details just to be leaving right there for just the whole group to, you know, if Abby showed up or just anyone, you can grab that and see that. But I don't know if anyone feels the same way about that, but that whole scene with the map, it just, again, feels like an out of character moment for Tommy, because it's noticeable. Anyways. Oh wow, it's Bernard from Westworld. Oh. So this brings my next issue with the game. I feel like just when we start even getting interested with the characters in this game, they kill them right off. Jesse is a good example of this. As soon as we start getting interested in this character, they kill him off right away. This happens with other characters in the game. It annoyed me when that happened. Oh yeah, by the way, Dina's pregnant, Jesse is the father, and she's dating Ellie. So just remember this love triangle exists, and we'll get back to it in a little bit. But anyways, all that happened. Abby found the map when she saw the dead bodies of Owen and Mel when she showed up at the aquarium. She saw the map, and, you know, obviously, movie theater right there shows that's where their camp is. Abby goes there and basically walks right up in there, kills Jesse, shoots Tommy, and somehow that dude is still alive. I have no idea how that happened. Like, I don't want to question it, because I mean, the sequel does so many questionable things. I mean, there's no point of questioning if that's possible to live. I mean, I don't know. I'm not questioning it. Wish Joel would have had the skull that Tommy had, because I mean, that dude went through so much and still is alive. After that, they leave us on a cliffhanger. Like, we don't know what's happening. She has Ellie at gunpoint, all that. And the game sends us to Abby's Seattle date 1. And we play as Abby's story throughout Seattle, like while Ellie's there in Seattle. I probably butchered that. It probably didn't make sense. Sorry if I made that confusing. But playing as Abby's story was honestly really hard to play. I'm surprised they went with this approach, but Naughty Dog, you cannot expect people to be okay with playing as Abby, that killed one, if not the fan favorite of the entire game series, let alone giving him a crappy death. There's obviously going to be rage in the community playing as Abby. It's also annoying just because we already know what happens to most of these characters in Abby's story. Example, Owen and Mel. We got to see a lot of the scars, which I thought was cool. And again, level design, it's amazing. Throughout the game, it's amazing. Gameplay, acting, everything, the music. It's just the story. There's really nothing wrong with Abby's story. It's just hard to play as her when you know everything you do and the fact she killed Joel. When we find out that Abby and gang is all connected to the Fireflies, and that surgeon that Joel killed was Abby's dad. And somehow she gets info when they are in Seattle that Tommy's all the way in Jackson. I mean, that's... never mind. I know Tommy is an ex-Firefly, but dang, am I the only one that feels like this is one of the crappiest connections to the game? I just don't feel like this part was a good idea. I didn't like the connection. I don't know if that was me. If anyone feels the same way, please let me know. It's just, I can think of so many plot holes with the idea that they went with this. It's just, I ain't gonna explain all of Abby's story, but I will say, yeah, another love triangle happens with Abby, Owen, and Mel. If you remember, I'm pretty sure I said it. I told you that Abby and Owen used to date, and Owen is with Mel, and yeah, Mel is pregnant. Later in the story, for whatever reason, literally a sex scene between Owen and Abby happens. It's, again, legit the most random thing that doesn't help the story at all. It's just there. They don't even explain why Owen just decides to cheat on his girlfriend, Mel. It's, again, literally the most random thing I've seen in a game in a very, very long time. I don't know if they were just hoping this scene would have some publicity towards the game, but I could have gone so much better without that being in the game. It's just, again, random. I think we will be done with talking about Abby's story for now. Again, if you are this far into the video, you likely already know what happens to Abby and just the whole game in general. So let's get back to the movie theater. Abby's there, and basically Ellie and Abby, they have a fight to the death, except Ellie loses big time to Abby. And honestly, this scene was really annoying to do just because we have to punch Ellie. I did not want to punch Ellie as Abby. Honestly, I would like it to be the other way around. Us punching Abby, which later, that happens. And, yeah. But Abby almost kills Dina and Ellie, but she decides to spare them. And she's like, I better not see you again. Then we go to yet another time skip, which I'm fine with the time skips. We see Ellie and Dina at the farmhouse, which they actually talked about beginning of the game. They're like, Dina's like, I want to be at a farmhouse. Dina has the kid. It's named JJ, which we can only assume is probably Jesse Joel or Joel Jesse, something like that. The time of the recording, they've not revealed what the kid's name, just JJ. The Jesse Jr., Joel Jr., Nell has deconfirmed that on Twitter. And Tommy comes through, all jacked up after that gunshot, somehow lives, tells Ellie he thinks he knows where Abby is. Ellie originally says she doesn't care about going after her. Tommy gets mad and is like, after we got back from Seattle, you're like, you said. And just laughs and gets mad. Yeah. Later that night, she decides to go after Abby, after all. But Dina says if she goes, we're done. And there's a lot more that happens in this scene, but I'm trying to keep it short because I know this is probably already almost 20 minutes long. So if you're interested in that, just look up a gameplay review or something like that. But throughout the game, Owen talks about chasing a rumor, like a Firefly reunion is happening and stuff. And so Abby originally does not believe it, which I think, yeah. And then after everyone dies, Abby's just like, well, why not? Let's follow this rumor, which I'm good with. We get back there, get back as playing as Abby after Ellie leaves to look for Abby. And we're left right at a house that Abby's at, that assuming with the information that was told to Abby, this is probably the Firefly's place. And she goes there, all she finds is a radio, and she turns it on, she tries all these radio stations, she finds one, and radio thing picks up, somebody responds, they say they're Fireflies, she gets all excited, then she walks out. This group on the radio claiming they were Fireflies attacked Abby and Lev, and yeah, they basically kidnapped both of them. They don't actually say who this group is. I'm assuming they aren't Fireflies. And I mean, this part I don't really care, but I kind of would have liked to know what this group was, because as we play through this entire sequence, we don't get to see who the group is. It's just our random no-name group that pops up, which I don't know if I like or dislike that. I'm kind of 50-50 on both ways, but the way I see it, it's another group introduced, or I don't know. I'm 50-50 on what they did with that part. I don't know if I like it. I can see some good, I can see some bad, but anyways. And then we're back at playing as Ellie, as she finds traces of Abby, the boat that her and Abby Owen did it on. She finds out that they went out there to this house. She finds where this house would be at. Ellie gets there. She finds this group. Or actually, she gets stuck in a trap, and then the group finds her. While this trap that Ellie was in, she got bit on her finger, and the group debates about leaving her behind because they see the bite, and blah blah blah. All that happens. She gets out of the trap, like tortures the guy for information. Then the guy's like, if you let me live, I'll tell her. And he tells her where Abby is, but then Ellie, no craps given, kills the guy. But basically, she finds the place, blah blah blah, goes in there, guns blazing, frees the prisoners of the place that Abby was at. They tell her Abby's not even there, and I actually forgot what they called this, but they said there's this place that's like a lake, and they leave a bunch of bodies out there. Abby and Lev's bodies were out there. Ellie goes there. Abby sees Ellie goes out there to free Abby, and when Abby sees it's Ellie, she's just like, whoa. But anyways, Ellie frees Abby, and what looked to me, Ellie was about to let Abby go. Don't know if this was what the game was intending us thinking, but as Abby's legit about to leave, she tells Abby she ain't leaving, and then they go out for another all-out fight, except this time we're Ellie, and we get to punch Abby. Which, I don't know. I guess for some people, they were probably really happy with that scene just because of how much they hated Abby. And it lasts a very long time. Abby just bites Ellie's finger off, blah blah blah, and then this part was so annoying. Ellie is about to kill Abby, and then we get a flashback of Joel, which I completely understand what they were going for with the story at this part. It wasn't for me. Wasn't what I wanted for Last of Us. This was not the story I wanted for Last of Us 2. We get a flashback of Joel where Ellie goes there, forgives Joel about, the choice that Joel made. And yeah, she looks at that flashback, and then she decides to forgive Abby. And that's how it is. She lets Abby go free with Lev on a boat. That's it of Abby's story. I'm assuming Last of Us Part 3, they're going to make that because this game sold way too well. 4 million copies. Yeah. She lets Abby go free, though. Then we're left in the water. We think that's the end of the game, but nope. Ellie shows back up at the farmhouse, and Dina and JJ, they left. So, yeah. She goes in her room, tries to play guitar, but can't because, her fingers. And that's how the story ends, her walking off the farmhouse. I'm sorry, but this ending left such a bad taste in my mouth. You go from what's considered one of the best games of all time, of the decade, to Last of Us 2. Like, how do you think this is a good story? I'm sorry. Naughty Dog employees, if you're watching this, now, please don't be mad at me. It just, as someone that cared really deep about this, someone that waited 7 years for this game, I was just so disappointed. The ending does not give you any satisfaction of, yes, I beat the game. Because everything you do in the game, just ending up sparing her, it was a revenge story that ended up not being a revenge story. It just feels like everything you did in that game, useless. All the people that died, useless. It's just... I mean, Naughty Dog really didn't care for Abby's story, because, you designed this game as Ellie's story. You have a Ellie edition of the game. Is there an Abby edition of the game that we don't know about? Because all the promotion, Ellie edition. Only Abby thing we got was the back of the steelbook and on the, the vinyl soundtrack thing. I'm sorry, I really hope no one's really mad at this video. I know it's long. We're almost done. The game is beautiful, the soundtrack is amazing, the gameplay, the level design, everything about this game except the story is amazing. But throughout playing Last of Us 2, I could not help but think of this awful story they made, just throughout the game. I really hope the HBO show that they got planned changes a lot of what they did. But unfortunately, I'm more and more expecting we're just gonna see a repeat. As for me, it's only hope for the Last of Us franchise is this Last of Us TV show on HBO. I'm not gonna lie, this game has honestly ruined gaming for me. And that, I know that's a strong statement, but I'm just being honest because I've never been so excited for a game in such a long time. I have to give Last of Us a 4 out of 10. And I know that's a very low number with, or earlier we were talking about the level design, the stealth, the gameplay, the music, but again, all I could think about while playing this game was just the awful story. Like, I don't know how you get something like Last of Us 1 with such an amazing, almost, I would say honestly, perfect game. The story is amazing in the first Last of Us. I don't know how they went this way. I honestly don't. I'm sorry. I've rambled way too much. This has been my review slash rant. I guess we would call this a rant, honestly. I don't know. I know this was probably 30 minutes. I'm sorry for a long video, guys. Let me know if I'm just being a baby. Like, honestly, I do want to know how you guys feel about this game. And hopefully, if you did not like the review, I'm hoping you at least stayed and watched the whole thing before being like, he's just hating on Abby. Because I feel like I did more than just that. I feel like I gave actual reasons, unlike most of the people out there that are hating on the game. Well, this is the end of the video anyways. Make sure to check out our Discord server. Make sure to like the video, backslash that subscribe button, comment in the video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.